There's been breaking news as well, hasn't there, over the last 10 minutes, that we should talk about, really.
Yeah.
And it is actually news because we've spoken about Jadon Sancho on this channel more times than I've spoken about anything else in my life.
Yeah.
Like, we've been covering this story for about
18 months? 2 years?
Yeah, probably. It feels a lot longer. But we have been covering it, and there has been this sort of merry-go-round of United want him, United are willing to trying to get him. Dortmund want more money than United are willing to pay. Sancho
wants to come.
Sancho wants to come. He's happy to come back to Manchester. All the rest of it. We need him, but it's not really developed much over those last 18 months until the last month, where we've seen an actual official bid from Manchester United, where we didn't see that last summer. We saw an official bid, and now we've seen an improved bid. And today, I think it's been reported everywhere. Simon Stone in the BBC, I see the Mirror, everywhere's reporting it. The United have gone in with an improved offer. I think it's 75 million now, with another, is it 10 million in add-ons, I think, which is still around 10 million short of what Dortmund want, but we're getting closer, and the general sort of end of every article says, a deal is imminent, or a deal is expected to happen, or it's moving closer. Do you think this is it? Finally, can we all start?
Can we move on?
Getting Jadon Sancho tattooed on our necks and buying a fucking shirt.
It does feel like it. It does feel like it. We'll get it on a different shirt.
We'll just get it on a green and gold non-United shirt.
Yeah, it does feel like it. It does feel like this is coming to an end. That actually, finally, we've gone from, like you said, he wants it, we want it, Dortmund don't care, to he wants it, we want it, Dortmund want it, and all the prices, it all seems to be lining up now, doesn't it? It all seems to be heading in the right direction. And I think in the next week, there'll be an announcement.
What do you reckon? Because obviously, you're probably, I doubt, I've not been keeping tabs on you, but I doubt you've been covering Jadon Sancho as much as we have for the last 18 months.
I'm just worried about you, because it's going to be like coming back from war, isn't it?
It feels like, we're going to have nothing to talk about. No. We're going to have to stop doing videos.
Well, actually, we're about to talk about him playing for United.
Imagine if he's
attitude.
Imagine if he's not that good.
Yeah. Well, is there some, show us for a downer and a negative on probably one of the biggest signings of the summer, but if Dortmund seem a bit more reluctant to, is it they're taking less money than last year?
Yeah, well, they wanted 115 million.
Is that just because of contract years?
It's contract and I think mostly contract and COVID maybe.
And is it? But is there something? And it's just a general overview. But is there just something a bit off with him?
Well, you spoke to Patrick Berger about that, didn't you? About the talk around his attitude and that sort of thing.
Is it bullshit?
No, it's you can swear. There was a sort of there has been the odd story about him going back to England a bit longer than he should have, not applying himself in training now and again, not like a frequent he's got a bad attitude or anything like that, just little instances. There was also talk of last season when he came back from the summer where he expected he'd be moving to Manchester United, didn't happen. He was a little bit miffed, and perhaps he wasn't performing as well as enthusiastically. And if you look at his form beginning last season, it wasn't great. You look at the end of the season, it was fantastic. One of the the most productive players in Europe, which is why it was a bit baffling. He's barely played for England in the Euros.
10 minutes last night, though, Jim.
Yeah, he did. He got a great run out, didn't he, for all of whatever it was. Yeah, 10 minutes. I think it was a little bit less than that, to be honest. But like Patrick Berger, who works for Sport Eins over in Germany, covers Dortmund.
The Patrick Berger? Sorry.
No, it's not.
Oh, is it not? I thought you...
No, do you know what? I stopped saying it because I got on everyone's nerves because we interviewed him last summer. And I used to refer to the interview because he's Mr. sort of ITK with Dortmund. He basically just covers them constantly, and he's
got you.
Just heavily involved with him. And I kept saying that. I'd be like, Patrick Berger, not the former Liverpool player. And everyone's in the comments going, Jay, you don't need to keep saying that because we know it's not the former Liverpool player. But yeah, not the former Liverpool player. But the chief reporter for Sport Eins, me and Ronaldo interviewed him on the Tier 1 Transfer podcast, and he was saying what Dortmund have and what we've seen improvement on with Sancho has been his professionalism. Saying in terms of his performances of towards the end of the season have been fantastic, but we've seen that before from him. We know he can do that. He said what has impressed everyone has been his professionalism. He is applying himself across the board. He is, he's taking it up a notch in terms of the way he sort of carries himself off the pitch and his attitude in training, and those little things that sort of weren't perfect have now gone to a new level, which is what you want to hear if he's going to come to Manchester United with a massive transfer fee. And also, in the past, you might have had a little bit of a question mark around those things.
It's funny, isn't it? Because the whole time we've been chasing after him, it's been, here's what he'll bring, here's why he's so good, here's why we need him. He's so expect yes, just get it. And now it's actually getting close, and it actually feels like this will happen. I'm thinking, what's wrong? What's going to go wrong? He's not playing for England. What's happened there? Has he said something to Southgate? Has he said something bad? Has he done something wrong? What's going on? And I'm worried that there's going to be a problem. Is he going to get injured? Is this going to It's just ridiculous. When it actually becomes a reality, you start looking for the negatives. But really, he's what Manchester United need and have needed for about 6 years since Valencia moved from a right winger to a right back, and we haven't replaced that player. He's the obvious signing. It's taken way too long, but now it looks like it's going to happen. It's absolutely brilliant.
It is brilliant, and it has been a bit baffling the way he's not really featured for England. But I'm not that bothered. Like, for me, I think it's more baffling, even though I'm kind of glad that Mason Greenwood's not involved, because I think when you look at England's squad and you look at like the last 2 months of the Premier League, Mason Greenwood was on fire.
And this injury thing...
Yeah, I know he's like the injury thing where you say he's injured.
Oh, is it?
I don't know.
What's the ITK saying?
I don't know. It just seemed a little bit like Southgate didn't really fancy him that much. I think if Southgate had really wanted him to go...
Like Rashford?
I think he'd have said, all right, or he had a word with him, say, listen, you're part of my plans.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Because he went to the squad and all of a sudden he's injured. One of the things that excites me though about Jadon Sancho, not just because we've finally got a right winger, or we're going to get a right winger, I should say, it's that whole thing of moving Mason Greenwood into his preferred position, because he has been stuck out on the right. He's done a fantastic job there. I think he's about 30 goals or something in the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
But you put him in the middle and he could get those sort of numbers in a season, can't he? Because he is prolific. He was prolific for the academy, and we've seen it for the first team. But he's not a right winger. He's a sort of striker being forced to play out wide because he's got such a good left foot that he can cut in on.
Yeah, it just sorts out that front three, doesn't it? The front three has harmony now, whereas before it was sort of you get moved there. Rashford has to play on the right sometimes as well. Like, we won't have to play Marcus Rashford on the right anymore, let alone Mason Greenwood. I know Marcus mostly doesn't play there, but I reckon at least a dozen times last season Rashford was playing from the right. When Greenwood was out or it wasn't in form, then you've got Dan James playing quite well, so you have to play him somewhere. So Rashford, because he's versatile, gets put on the right. Well, now if Sancho's there, he plays on the right, and if he's not up to form or he's injured, then Greenwood plays there, and you don't have to worry about Rashford being moved around all over the place.
No,
it just brings a complete harmony to the front line that we haven't had, in 5 or 10 years. I'm
just going to run through quickly. We will get on to, obviously, we've got to watch longer. The game's not kicked off yet. I'll run through the teams and all that sort of stuff in a minute again. But I just want to go over what the sort of the update is on Jadon Sancho, because obviously you hear this quite a lot, don't you? You hear breaking news of Jadon Sancho, and it turns out it's not that breaking, but this is. So Simon Stone, I think, was one of the first people to break it about an hour ago. He said second bid from United has gone in, 85 million euros, still short, 10 million euros from Dortmund asking price, but confidence now that deal will be concluded. And then you've also got a follow-up tweet from that says there is a 15% sell-on clause in the deal Man City negotiated when they sold Sancho to Dortmund in 2017. This is across the total fee. So
50 or 15?
15, sorry, I wasn't...
so City are getting 15% of that?
I think so. There was this talk, wasn't there, with Sancho? Wasn't it just the Manchester tax, the United tax that they put on? Because there was talk that they'd put in I'm sure it was with Sancho, forgive me if I'm wrong, but like they'd inserted a clause into his contract that if Dortmund sold him to another club in Manchester, that they got 15% more or something of the sell-on. Because
Salford's rise has been quite
exactly. It was like,
well, that's not in Manchester, is it? So.
Well, it was like great in Manchester. It was like, is he going to go to Oldham or Bolton or something? Yeah. I'm just going to follow with this because the Mirror have got it. Disco Dave McDonnell. I don't know why I give him his nickname now. Just Dave McDonnell is his actual name. Mate, Disco Dave. Manchester United, he says all that. And then he says, United's opening bid of 60 million was rejected by Dortmund, but the latest offer is likely to be accepted with a potential 10 million in add-ons attached to the fee. And then he just goes on to say, is Solskjaer's number one target this summer after failing to land him last summer when Dortmund were demanding 110 million quid for the 20-year-old. So... And post-COVID, the transfers dropped, the fees dropped. He's a further year into his deal, so they can't play hardball like they could last summer. And also, what we were hearing when we spoke to like countless German journalists last summer is they were saying with Dortmund last summer there was a bit more resilience because Bayern had just won the Champions League, they again won the Bundesliga. Dortmund felt, they've got Haaland, they've got Sancho, they've just bought Bellingham. Obviously, you know all about him from your club. There was like, we've got a chance here of actually challenging, and if we lose Sancho, we won't, so it's got to be worth our while. We don't need to sell him so they sort of dug their heels in. Things are a little bit different financially. They could do the money.
Yeah.
He's only got, if they don't sell him this summer, his price is going to drop massively next summer because obviously there's another year into his contract. And you get the impression, don't you, that this is like no one's going to come in like United will for him. There doesn't seem to be that interest. The Scousers have been linked with him. Chelsea
last summer, but not really.
There's not been
summer.
like anyone who's looking to spend what would be, roughly a British transfer record fee for Jadon Sancho, other than Manchester United. So it does feel like this is almost like the perfect time for everyone. It's the perfect time for United because if we don't buy him now, it's just another summer of.
Does that tie into like all the stuff around with the Glazers as well, and them trying to put their sort of like member on the table, so to speak, and say, "Here we are, lads. Is something to try and appease you?"
I reckon so, yeah. Because last summer it felt like they didn't mind if we didn't sign him. Like they wanted him, but they could live with themselves not signing him. Whereas this year, I think there's an understanding that if we don't get someone big, all of that stuff we saw a couple of months ago will just come right back again. I mean, not that it should be the case that if you do sign Sancho, then we're all happy, because that's not how it is.
No.
But there's a certain percentage of the fans that would be satisfied with Sancho that might then sort of turn that, what is currently a big support for all these protests and that sort of thing, turn that into, not an overwhelming support. So I think they think we need to do something here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it makes sense on a lot of levels. But it makes sense from the playing side of things. You need someone like Jadon Sancho. City, are going to go out and probably get Harry Kane. So, if that happens...
Scary, that, isn't it?
Two players that have barely played for England this Euros. I mean, Kane's been on the pitch,
but he's done sod all on it. So that they get him, you're not going to catch them up by buying another Donny van der Beek type player or another Edinson Cavani. I know he's been good, but another free transfer. We need to buy the top draw players, and Jadon Sancho is one of them. We definitely need more than just Jadon Sancho, that's the thing.
But even from a Dortmund perspective, like you said, that they held on to him because they thought they could have a really good go for the league.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the last 5 or 6 games that they eventually got into the Champions League places, wasn't it? So they obviously feel...
They won a trophy, didn't they? But they had an awful season, you're right, for like 2/3 of the season. Just quickly, just before we wrap up, Jadon Sancho, do you think he'll be a big... Do you think it's going to happen, and do you think it'll be a success at United?
I do think it's going to happen, although I'm still scarred slightly from last summer where I thought it was going to happen and it didn't. But if it does, I think it'll be a success. And he's so young that even if he's not amazing the first season or the second season, I think he'll build up, and by the time he's fully settled in at United, I think he'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
I think United is just setting along quite nicely now, and there's some key players in there that are going to bring him along up to their level, not just like standard-wise, but professionalism-wise. And Ollie's got that sort of father figure about him, hasn't he? So if he has got a few kinks, he'll just get them out of him.
I think it will happen, and I think it will be a success. I was a bit more sceptical last summer because of the journalists we've spoken to, but because everyone we spoke to last summer that was saying you're gonna have to wait a year is now saying we think this is gonna happen. Me and you spoke to the man himself, Fabrizio Romano. He said 2 or 3 weeks. We spoke to Patrick Berger the other day. He said he's leaving. He's basically leaving Dortmund. It's going to happen. Although, like all these journalists always say, you never know until it's done. It's done. It's not done. Sorry, but yeah, it does definitely look like it.
It's going to be done. What, are you going to have a party? What are you going to do to celebrate?
I'm probably just going to go for a little bit of a picnic down by the river.
Little spa weekend.
Little moment to myself. Maybe let a balloon off.
An outdoor wee.
Yeah, just like think about it. Think of the emotional journey. Now it's something you've got to let go of. Let go of the Sancho transfer stories and start focusing in. Focus on the Varane ones.
Or it could be like, I heard Jude Bellingham might be up for sale, and then that'd be it.
We did a video on Jude Bellingham, didn't we?
Jude Bellingham.
We did. We did a scouting report on Jude Bellingham, and the next day went and signed for Dortmund.
Brilliant. So that's how these things can change. Hopefully, Sancho will.
Was I in the video going? And I think it's pretty likely he's going to go to United.
Yeah. I think we're going to be uploading. I think we're uploading this to YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, go and check us out on Twitch, where we've got the France versus Portugal watch along.